All right, good morning, guys. Today, welcome to Storytime with Hatch Brighter, where we're focusing on kindness and compassion. And today's story is Amos and Boris by William Steig, or Steig, I don't know how to pronounce it. And it's based on a beach. So I happened to be at the beach, so it was kind of serendipitous. Something I want to talk about for all the kids there is I wanted to ask you, do you know what compassion means? Compassion. So compassion is when we show that we care about someone's feelings or something that's happening to them. When we show that we care, it's called being compassionate or having compassion for them. And this story shows two lovely characters who have amazing compassion for each other. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Parents, if you're reading along with your kids, this story has a lot of vocabulary that your child might say, hey, what does this mean? Or what does that mean? I will try to catch them and answer them for you, but you might want to just write them down next to you and be like, hey, I'm gonna tell you what that means right after the story is done. Which is what happened with my 5-year-old Nora. So here we go. Here's the story. Amos, a mouse. Can we see this? There we go. Amos, a mouse, lived by the ocean, just like this one. He loved the ocean. He loved the smell of sea air. He loved to hear the surf sounds, the bursting breakers, the backwashes with rolling pebbles. He thought a lot about the ocean, and he wondered about the faraway places on the other side of the water. One day, he started building a boat on the beach. He worked on it in the daytime, while at night he studied navigation. Navigation is when you try to understand how to move, in this case around the ocean, by perhaps looking at the sky and the stars and the wind and understanding your north, south, east, and west. When the boat was finished, he loaded it with cheese, biscuits, acorns, honey, wheat germ, 2 barrels of fresh water, a compass, a sextant, a telescope, a saw, a hammer, and nails, and some wood in case repairs should be necessary, a needle and thread for the mending of torn sails, and various other necessities such as bandages and iodine, a yo-yo, and playing cards. Wow, he thought about a lot of things to take with him to the ocean. On the 6th day of September, with a very calm sea, he waited till the high tide had almost reached his boat. Then, using his most savage strength, he just managed to push the boat into the water, climb on board, and set sail. The rodent, for that was the boat's name, proved to be very well made and very well suited to the sea. And Amos, after one miserable day of seasickness, proved to be a natural sailor, very well suited to the ship. Do we know what seasickness means? Seasickness is, do you want to guess what it means? Seasickness. It's when we get sick on the sea. Our tummy starts rumbling and we just don't feel good. But after one day, it seemed like he was fine. He was enjoying his trip immensely. It was beautiful weather. Day and night, he moved up and down on waves as big as mountains. And he was full of wonder, full of enterprise, and full of love for life. Look at that. What a beautiful sea. One night, in a phosphorescent sea, he marveled at the sight of some whales spouting luminous water, and later lying on the deck of his boat, gazing at the immense starry sky, the tiny mouse, Amos, a little speck of a living thing, in the vast living universe felt thoroughly akin to it all. Overwhelmed by the beauty and mystery of everything, he rolled over and right off the deck of his boat and into the sea. You see him over here? He's laying on the boat. And then he rolled over. Rhea, I just saw your answer for the seasickness. You're right. Sick when sailing. That is correct. Help! He squeaked as he grabbed desperately at the rodent. But it evaded his grasp and went bowling along under full sail, and he never saw it again. How do you think he felt when that happened? And there he was. Where? In the middle of the immense ocean, 1,000 miles from the nearest shore, with no one else in sight as far as the eye could see, and not even so much as a stick of driftwood to hold on to. Should I try to swim home? Amos wondered. Or should I just try to stay afloat? He might swim a mile, but 1,000? He decided to just keep afloat, treading water and hoping that something, who knows what, would turn up to save him. But what if a shark or some big fish, a horse, mackerel, turned up? What was he supposed to do to protect himself? He didn't know. Look at him down there. Oh, Rhea, thank you for answering. Yes, I would feel sad and scared too. Morning came as it always does. He was getting terribly tired. He was very small, very cold, very wet, and a very worried mouse. There was still nothing in sight but the empty sea. Then, as if things weren't bad enough, it began to rain. Would it just feel awful? Would his soul go to heaven? Would there be mice there? How do you think he's feeling now? Sophie, I love that. Oh no, giant waves. How do you think the mouse is feeling now? As he was asking himself these dreadful questions, a huge head burst through the surface of the water and loomed up over him. It was a whale. "What sort of fish are you?" the whale asked. "You must be one of a kind." "I'm not a fish," said Amos. "I'm a mouse, which is a mammal, the highest form of life. I live on land." "Holy clam and cuttlefish," said the whale. "I'm a mammal myself, though I live in the sea. Call me Boris," he added. Do we know what a mammal is? A mammal is a warm-blooded animal who produces milk. So they're both mammals, even though they may look very different. They're quite the same. Amos introduced himself and told Boris how he came to be there in the middle of the ocean. The whale said he would be happy to take Amos to the ivory coast of Africa, where he happened to be headed anyway to attend a meeting of whales from all the 7 seas. But Amos said he had enough adventure to last him a while. He wanted only to get back home and hoped the whale wouldn't mind going out of his way to take him there. "Not only would I not mind," said Boris, "I would consider it a privilege. What other whale in the world ever had the chance to get to know such a strange creature as you? Please climb aboard." And Amos got on Boris's back. I think that was very compassionate and very kind. What do you think? "Are you sure you're a mammal?" Amos asked. "You smell more like a fish." Then Boris the whale went swimming along with Amos the mouse on his back. What a relief to be so safe, so secure again. Amos lay down in the sun and being worn to a frazzle, he was soon asleep. How do you think Amos is feeling now? Then all of a sudden, he was in the water again, wide awake, spluttering and splashing about. Boris had forgotten for a moment that he had a passenger on his back and had sounded. So when I first read this, I didn't know what sounded means. Sounded is when whales dive. So Amos is on his back and Boris just decided to dive, and look what happened to Amos. When he realized his mistake, he surfaced so quickly that Amos was sent somersaulting tail over whiskers high into the air. Hitting the water hurt. Crazy with rage, Amos screamed until he remembered he owed his life to the whale and quietly climbed on his back. From then on, whenever Boris wanted to sound, which means to dive, he warned Amos in advance and got his okay. And whenever he sounded, Amos took a swim by himself. Swimming along sometimes at great speed, sometimes slowly, sometimes resting and exchanging ideas, sometimes stopping to sleep. It took them a week to reach Amos's home shore. During that time, they developed a deep admiration for one another. Boris admired the delicacy, the quivering daintiness, the light touch, the small voice, the gem-like radiance of the mouse. Amos admired the bulk, the grandeur, the power, the purpose, the rich voice, and the abounding friendliness of the whale. You know, this made me realize I admire a lot of things in my friends. I wonder what you admire in your friends. They became the closest possible friends. They told each other about their lives, their ambitions. They shared their deepest secrets with each other. The whale was very curious about life on land and was sorry that he could never experience it. Amos was fascinated by the whale's accounts of what went on deep under the sea. Amos sometimes enjoyed running up and down on the whale's back for exercise. When he was hungry, he ate plankton. The only thing he missed was fresh, unsalty water. So I am by the Pacific Ocean. What kind of water is in the Pacific Ocean? Is it salty, you think? The time came to say goodbye. They were at the shore. I wish we could be friends forever, said Boris. We will be friends forever, but we can't be together. You must live on land and I must live at sea. I will never forget you, though. And you can be sure I'll never forget you, said Amos. I will always be grateful to you for saving my life, and I want you to remember that if you ever need my help, I'd be more than glad to give it. How he could ever possibly help Boris, Amos didn't know, but he knew how willing he was to help. The whale couldn't take Amos all the way to land. They said their last goodbye, and Amos dived off Boris's back and swam to the sand. From the top of a cliff, he watched Boris spout twice and disappear. Boris laughed to himself. How could that little mouse ever help me? Little as he is, he's all heart. I love him, and I will miss him terribly. Boris went to the conference off the Ivory Coast of Africa and then went back to a life of whaling about, while Amos returned to his life of mousing around, and they were both very happy. Sophie and Rhea, how are you guys liking it so far? I like this story. Many years after the incidents just described, when Amos was no longer a very young mouse and when Boris was no longer a very young whale, there occurred one of the worst storms of the century, Hurricane Yetta. And it just so happened that Boris the whale was flung ashore by a tidal wave and stranded on the very shore where Amos happened to make his home. Oi, Sophie and Rhea. I'm so glad you guys like it. Rhea, thank you for introducing me to this story. It also just so happened that when the storm had cleared up and Boris was lying high and dry on the sand, losing his moisture in the hot sun and needing desperately to be back in the water, Amos came down to the beach. Let me show you the full picture. Oh, we don't see Amos yet. There he is. Do you see Amos? Right there? Yeah. Amos came down to the beach to see how much damage Hurricane Yetta had done. That's so interesting. So Boris just got moved to the shore, and Amos just so happened to want to look at the beach and see what happened from the hurricane. That's so interesting. I wonder how and why that happened, that they both met each other at the perfect time. Again. Of course, Boris and Amos recognized each other at once. I don't have to tell you how these old friends felt at meeting again in this desperate situation. Amos rushed toward Boris. Boris could only look at Amos. Do you know why Boris needs help? He's not in the water anymore. And do whales need water to be able to live? Amos, help me, said the mountain of a whale to the moat of a mouse. I think I will die if I don't get back in the water soon. Amos gazed at Boris in an agony of pity. He realized he had to do something very fast and had to think very fast about what it was he had to do. And suddenly, he was gone. Do you think he'll come back? I'm afraid he won't be able to help me, said Boris to himself. Much as he wants to do something, what can such a little mouse do? Do you think being little matters? Or do you think he's going to figure out a way? I wonder. Just as Amos had once felt all alone in the middle of the ocean, Boris felt now lying alone on the shore. He was sure he would die, and just as he was preparing to die, Amos came running back with 2 of the biggest elephants he could find. Look at that! Amos found 2 elephants. What a brilliant mind Amos has. I like the way he thinks. Ooh, the wind. I love it when I feel the wind. Without wasting time, these 2 good-hearted elephants got to pushing with all their might at Boris's huge body until he began turning over, breaded with sand and rolling down toward the sea. Amos, standing on the head of one of the elephants, yelled instructions, but no one heard him. You see that? They're working hard to help. In a few minutes, Boris was already in water with waves washing at him, and he was feeling the wonderful wetness. You have to be out of the sea to really know how good it is to be in it. So he was really appreciating the water. He thought, that is, if you're a whale. Soon he was able to wiggle and wriggle into deeper water. I think Boris is feeling much better. He looked back at Amos on the elephant's head. Tears were rolling down the great whale's cheeks. The tiny mouse had tears in his eyes too. What kind of tears do you think they were having? Tears of sadness or joy? Goodbye, dear friend, squeaked Amos. Goodbye, dear friend, rumbled Boris, and he disappeared into the waves. They knew they might never meet again. They knew they would never forget each other. The end. This was Amos and Boris. I hope you enjoyed that story, and I hope you felt the love and kindness and compassion. Sophie, my love, yes, happy tears. I agree. And I wonder if it was both. I wonder if it might have been happy and sad. But that was my first answer too. I thought happy right away. Did you guys like it? Thank you, Neha. All right, Rhea and Sophie, a big air hug for you guys. Thanks for listening to this with me. I hope you have a wonderful, kind, and compassionate day. And I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.